He was running, but not away from me. He was running at my truck. Before I could even process what was happening, he slammed his body against the passenger side door. His face was a pale mask pressed against the glass, his eyes wide and bloodshot. There's a special kind of loneliness you only find on the open road late at night. For the long-haul trucker or the cross-country traveler, the whole world shrinks to the cone of your headlights cutting through an ocean of black. It's a place where the normal rules feel thin, stretched. Tonight, we have 4 stories from lone drivers who found themselves in that world, staring into the darkness only to see something terrifying staring back. These are stories from people who swear they're true, tales of unexplainable encounters on desolate highways that will make you think twice about who or what is out there. For more true horror, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into it. Story 1. The man in the black coat. This story comes from a guy named Mark, who was driving his F-150 home from a snowboarding trip in Vermont. It was a long haul, and by the time he hit the rural highways of upstate New York, it was way past midnight. A heavy snow had started coming down, not a blizzard, but a thick, steady curtain of white that muffled all sound and cut visibility down to almost nothing. The roads were completely empty. He hadn't seen another car for the better part of an hour. The only sounds were the hum of his engine, the thump-thump-thump of the wipers, and the crunch of snow under his tires. It was hypnotic, almost peaceful. But peace is a fragile thing on a lonely road. As he rounded a long, sweeping bend, with dense, dark woods on either side, his headlights snagged on something. A figure standing perfectly still in the middle of his lane. Mark's heart leaped into his throat. He slammed on the brakes, the truck fishtailing on the slick road before stopping a safe distance away. The figure was a tall, thin man in a large, dark coat. His hood was pulled up, hiding his face. He just stood there like a statue in the swirling snow, not moving a muscle. Mark's first thought was that the guy needed help. Maybe he'd crashed his car. He rolled his window down just a crack, the freezing air stinging his face. "Hey, you all right?" Mark shouted. The man didn't answer. He just took one step forward, then another. As he got closer, this primal feeling of wrongness started crawling up Mark's spine. There was no wrecked car on the side of the road, no sign of an accident at all. Just this one guy in the middle of a snowstorm in the dead of night. The man was right outside his driver's side window now. Mark could see a bit of his face under the hood. It was pale, almost translucent, with dark, sunken eyes. He claimed he was lost, that his car had broken down miles back and he was freezing. His voice was strange. It was flat and emotionless. But underneath it, there was this weird, desperate pleading. He asked if Mark could just let him in to get warm, just for a few minutes. Every single instinct in Mark's body screamed no. He told the man he was sorry, but he couldn't let a stranger into his truck. He offered to call for help, to drive to the next town and send back a tow truck or the police. That's when everything changed. The pleading vanished, replaced by something cold and demanding. "Just open the door," the man said, his voice dropping to a low, menacing growl. Mark didn't hesitate. He said, "No," and slammed the power lock button. The click echoed in the small cab. The man's face twisted in a flash of pure rage. He grabbed the handle and yanked, the whole truck rocking with the force of it. When the lock held, he started pounding on the window with his fist, a frantic, furious rhythm that vibrated right through the glass. Panic took over. Mark threw the truck into drive, the engine groaning as he stomped on the gas. But the tires just spun on the snow. The man was screaming now, just furious, incoherent words, his face pressed right against the window, his breath fogging the glass. Mark could see his eyes clearly now. They were wide, wild, and completely unhinged. Finally, the tires caught. The truck lurched forward, leaving the man standing in the road, still screaming into the snow-filled night. Mark's heart was hammering his ribs. He pushed the truck as fast as he dared, not caring that the engine was complaining. A few miles down the road, As he came over a hill, he saw the faint glint of reflectors. Car parked on the shoulder. As he passed it, he glanced over. It was a dark sedan half covered in snow. For a split second, he had a terrifying thought that the man was inside, waiting. But the car was empty. It was only then, as his own taillights lit up the road behind him, that he saw the proof. Etched in the fresh snow were his own tire tracks where he'd stopped. And leading out from the woods was a single set of footprints, ending at the exact spot where the man had been standing. There were no other tracks. None coming from miles down the road like the man had claimed. None leading to that parked car. The prints showed that the man had been waiting in those dark woods, trying to lure Mark into opening his door for reasons he was damn glad he never found out. He drove the rest of the way home with the chilling feeling of a near miss. The image of that pale, furious face burned into his mind. Story 2. The silhouette on I-95. There's a stretch of Interstate 95 between Savannah and Jacksonville that's so long, flat, and straight that it can mess with your head, especially in the pre-dawn hours. For truckers, it's just another piece of asphalt to get over with. This story comes from a driver named David, a 10-year veteran who figured he'd seen it all. Drunks, sudden storms, deer darting out of nowhere. It's all just part of the job. But what he saw on a clear, moonless night in late autumn wasn't part of any job he knew. It was around 3 a.m. The highway was dead empty, lit only by the occasional sterile orange glow of an overhead lamp. David was in the zone, sipping coffee, listening to some late-night talk radio. He was awake, relaxed. Then, at the very edge of his high beams, he saw it. A figure, standing on the grassy shoulder by the side of the road. His first reaction was a jolt of annoyance. Someone on the interstate at this hour is either in deep trouble or they are trouble. As he got closer, he could see it was just a silhouette, a tall, black shape against the darkness. It was unnaturally lanky, with long limbs and a posture that was almost human. But not quite right. It was perfectly still as his 18-wheeler thundered past. He glanced in his mirrors. The figure hadn't moved. He just shook his head, figuring it was road fatigue, a trick of the light. He drove on for another 10, maybe 15 minutes. The road stayed empty. He was starting to put the strange figure out of his mind when his headlights swept across something on the shoulder up ahead. It was the same black silhouette. This time, a cold dread started to seep in. That was impossible. He was doing over 60 miles an hour. Nothing on foot could have gotten that far ahead of him. He stared hard as he approached, trying to make out any detail. But there was nothing. It was like a man-shaped hole in the world. As he passed it a second time, he felt this intense, unnerving sensation of being watched. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white. The radio chatter just faded into background noise. All of his focus was on the road ahead and his mirrors behind him. The silhouette was gone again. His mind was racing, desperately trying to find a logical explanation. Was he seeing things? Was he so tired he was starting to hallucinate? Drivers see weird things on these long, lonely roads all the time. But this felt different. This felt real. Then, to his absolute horror, he saw it again. But this time, it wasn't standing on the shoulder. It was in the breakdown lane. And it was moving. It was running, its long limbs pumping in a strangely fluid motion, easily keeping pace with his truck. It ran without any sign of effort, its form never changing, its speed perfectly matched to his. Pure terror washed over David. He saw the headlights of another truck coming toward him in the opposite lanes. Good, he thought. Someone else will see this. The other truck got closer, its lights flooding the space between them. And then the impossible happened. The headlights seemed to pass directly through the running figure. For a split second, its dark shape was cast in stark relief by the light behind it before it was solid black again. It was as if the thing was intangible, a shadow that didn't follow the rules of the physical world. The driver of the other truck must have seen something, because they swerved hard before correcting their course. The silhouette turned its head. And though David could see no face, no eyes, he knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that it was looking right at him. It was a stare that felt ancient and predatory. And he suddenly felt like an insect under a microscope. He didn't speed up. He didn't swerve. Some deep part of him knew that any sudden move was pointless against whatever this was. All he could do was drive, keeping his eyes locked on the road, praying for it to go away. It ran alongside him for what felt like an eternity, a silent, dark companion on his journey through the night. Then, as the first faint hint of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, it just faded, dissolving back into the shadows it came from. David drove on. But the rising sun did little to warm the profound cold that had settled deep inside him. He never drove that stretch of I-95 at night again without feeling the ghost of something watching him from the roadside. Story 3. The woman on the overpass. Truckers learned to trust their gut. A strange noise from the engine, a weird vibration in the steering wheel, or just a feeling that a situation is off. For a driver named Michael, that gut feeling might have saved him from something he still can't explain. He was on a long haul, crossing the sparse, rolling hills of rural Pennsylvania late one night. It was the kind of drive where the miles just melt together, the white lines on the road becoming a hypnotic pulse. He was tired but focused, his cab a small, warm bubble of light in the vast, silent darkness. Up ahead, he saw the concrete arc of an overpass, and standing on it was a woman. She was perfectly still, her hands gripping the chain-link fence, staring down at the highway. Even from a distance, something about her posture was deeply unsettling. There was a tension to it, a rigid stillness that just didn't seem natural. As his truck got closer, his headlights lit her up more clearly. She was wearing a simple, light-colored dress that was totally wrong for the chilly night air. Her dark hair just hung around her face. Michael immediately felt uneasy. Why was she up there? Car breakdown. Was she in trouble? Or was she about to jump? That thought sent a jolt of alarm through him. He slowed his rig, his mind racing. Should he stop? Call 911? He'd heard all the stories about phantom hitchhikers, but this felt incredibly real and incredibly wrong. He was just about to reach for his CB radio when his truck did something impossible. The engine, which had been humming along perfectly for hours, just died. The cab was plunged into an eerie silence. Then, just as suddenly, it roared back to life, but far louder than normal, shaking the entire truck. In that same instant, every light on his dashboard went haywire, blinking on and off in a chaotic frenzy. The radio, which had been playing softly, erupted into a violent screech of static that filled the cab. It was as if his truck had been hit by a massive power surge, a technological seizure with a mind of its own. The whole thing only lasted a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Then, just as quickly as it started, it stopped. The engine settled down. The dashboard lights went steady. The radio went back to the quiet country song that had been playing before. The only thing that had changed was that his foot, which had been hovering over the brake, was now pressing the accelerator to the floor. The truck was speeding up, pulling him away from the overpass. He hadn't done it consciously. It was as if the truck itself had decided it was time to go. Michael risked a look in his side mirror. The overpass was getting smaller behind him. The woman was still there, a pale, still figure against the dark sky. He didn't look back again. He couldn't. The fear was too much. What had he just seen? Was it a ghost whose presence could mess with the physical world? Was his truck's violent reaction a warning? He spent the next 100 miles with his hands shaking, haunted by the image of the woman on the overpass. A stark reminder that on the loneliest roads, some things are better left alone. Story 4. The blinding light and the dark figures. Our final story comes from a driver who was making his way through the back roads of Ohio, a maze of narrow lanes cutting through huge, dark fields of farmland. A thick, soupy fog had rolled in, swallowing his headlight beams and making it feel like he was driving through a cloud. He could barely see a few feet past the hood of his car and had to slow to a crawl. The isolation was absolute. The fog muffled every sound, creating a claustrophobic silence. And it was in that sensory deprivation tank that the first strange thing happened. Out of nowhere, a light appeared right in front of him. It wasn't another car's headlights. It was a single, brilliant point of light, like a star had just dropped out of the sky and was hovering over the road. It grew brighter with terrifying speed, becoming a blinding, white-hot glare that forced him to slam on the brakes and squeeze his eyes shut. The light was so intense it felt physical, like it was pressing down on him, searing right through his eyelids as it bathed his car in pure, white radiance. Just when he thought his eyes would be permanently burned, the light vanished as suddenly as it came. He opened his eyes, blinking away the spots in his vision. He was back in the dense, gray fog. The strange presence was gone. His heart was pounding. What was that? A weird weather phenomenon? A meteor? He had no idea. But he wanted nothing more than to be off this road and somewhere with streetlights. He was about to put the car back in drive when he saw movement. From the edge of the farmland to his left, two figures emerged from the fog. They were dark, shadowy shapes, and they were moving with an unnatural speed. They weren't walking, they were sprinting right for his car. This wasn't some spooky ghost story anymore. This was a real, immediate threat. Pure animal fear took over. He fumbled for the gear shift, his hands shaking, and jammed the car into drive, stomping on the gas. The engine roared, but the tires spun for a heart-stopping moment on the damp asphalt before they finally caught. Just as the car shot forward, one of the figures reached the passenger side. It didn't try the door. It didn't bang on the window. It slammed its entire body into the side of the car with a sick thud. But the figure didn't even flinch. It didn't recoil. It was as if it had run into a wall of air, totally unfazed by the impact with a ton of moving steel. In that split second, the driver turned his head and locked eyes with the thing. Its face was a pale oval in the fog, its features blurry. But its eyes were just dark, empty pits. There was no emotion there, no anger, no pain, just a cold, predatory focus. The moment stretched out, a terrifying snapshot of man and monster in the fog-drenched night. Then the car tore away, leaving the figures behind. The driver didn't dare look in his rearview mirror. He floored it, flying blindly through the fog, praying he wouldn't crash. He didn't slow down until he finally burst out of the fog bank and onto a main, well-lit highway. He pulled over, his body trembling, the image of those empty eyes seared into his brain. He never found out what the blinding light was, or who those dark figures were, but he knew they were connected, and that he had barely escaped their horrifying, unexplainable world. The road goes on forever, and apparently so do the stories. These encounters, born from the isolation of a late-night drive, are a chilling reminder that we might not be as alone out there as we think. Ask any veteran driver, and they'll probably have a story or two just like these, tales from the road that defy any easy explanation. Thank you for watching. If you have a true scary story you'd like to share for a future video, send it to the email address in the description below. For more tales of true horror that will haunt your travels, be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications. Until next time, stay safe out there. You never know who or what might be waiting for you just beyond your headlights.